Let's take this a stage further now, talk to Robert Grenier, who at one time was the CIA's top counter-terrorism official, spent a long time as the agency's station chief in Pakistan. You said a few years ago that you believed the Pakistani government was protecting the Pakistani Taliban to some extent. Do you think that's now still the case?
No, I don't think so at all. And I'm not sure. In fact, I don't think that the Pakistanis have ever wanted to protect the Pakistani Taliban. They've made a real distinction between the Afghan Taliban, who they think may be very important to their future interests inside Afghanistan, but the TTP, the Pakistani Taliban, they see as a direct threat to their interests, and therefore they're very pleased to hunt these people
down. Which is why they went after them in South Waziristan. In the tribal areas. But I was wondering about the leadership, not only of the TTP, the Pakistani Taliban, but the Afghan Taliban, Mullah Omar.
Yes.
You think they know where he is and they're hiding him?
I don't think that, well, for one thing, the Afghan Taliban don't particularly trust the Pakistanis. Their relations are at best a marriage of convenience. So I don't think that Mullah Omar and others are depending on the Pakistanis for their protection. What I do think they depend on is the sufferance of the Pakistanis, the fact that the Pakistanis are making no active efforts to find out where they are, still less to turn them over to the Americans.
The same with bin Laden, Osama bin Laden, do you think?
Oh, I strongly doubt that. I don't think that the Pakistanis know where he is.
Who knows where he is?
I think very few people know where he is.
And why have the CIA and other government agencies failed to find him? Where did it go wrong? Because I guess this was on your watch as well.
Well, certainly. There's no question about that, and it was a great frustration for me, as it was before my time and since. But I think the distinction between bin Laden and the many senior cadres of al-Qaeda who have been either killed or captured is that those in the latter category were active terrorists. Bin Laden has essentially been hiding. The only sign that we ever get from him is an occasional audio tape and an even less frequent videotape. This is not someone who is actively engaged in the struggle.
CIA terrorism efforts involve trying to infiltrate groups in countries such as Pakistan and Afghanistan, with the Jordanian doctor who blew himself up, killing 7 CIA members. It clearly didn't work. Following that, can the CIA trust any of its people inside these groups now to deliver?
Well, let's look at the strike today. If it did not kill Hakim al-Massoud, it came very close to killing Hakim al-Massoud. A lot of people have the impression that these predator drone strikes take place because the predators are floating around and simply striking at people whom they recognize. Not the case at all. In fact, these strikes are all based on intelligence. And the fact that there are so many strikes that are taking place and that so many of them have been successful indicates that there's a lot of intelligence that's flowing out of the tribal areas.
But as you know very well, there are different types of intelligence. There's somebody tipping you off, and there's somebody that you've tried to turn and put inside. I mean, effectively, has the CIA operation been a failure?
Oh, well, obviously, in something as difficult as this, where everyone on both sides is playing for keeps, the potential for failure is always there, and failure is quite likely to be devastating and catastrophic. And that's what we saw just a few days ago in Khost. But this is a continuing battle. There have been many successes. This was an important failure, but the struggle will go on.
The president of Yemen, where a great deal of al-Qaeda's operations now appear to be directed, has said he would be happy to talk to anybody from al-Qaeda who wanted to come over to that site. State media now saying in the last 10 minutes it's all out war against al-Qaeda. Is it realistic to expect this to have any real impact, a plea to sort of say, give yourself up, come over to our side?
I think that if we're talking about Ali Abdullah Saleh, who is a profoundly unpopular figure in Yemen right now, I think that the prospects for that are probably not very great. Certainly if we're talking about committed al-Qaeda terrorists. There are those individuals who might be attracted to the cause, who might be on the fringes of the cause, who might then be willing to come over to this side, perhaps not to Saleh himself.
But peripheral figures rather than the senior figures?
I think most likely, yes.
9 years almost since America went into Afghanistan. Is it any better off now than it was then?
That's very difficult to say, and I think that there are different aspects to that answer. Clearly, there remain a large number of committed al-Qaeda terrorists, and they're actually gaining in strength in certain areas. They're arguably gaining in strength in Afghanistan. They're gaining in strength in Yemen. But I think more fundamentally, we are seeing the mass of the population in these countries turning against the extremists, and that's part of the reason why we're seeing them going to ungoverned space.
Sorry to have to cut it short. We could have talked for a lot longer.
Sure.
Robert Grenier, former head of the CIA's counter-terrorism unit.